Yeah, me again. This is episode 2 of Mike Rants about stuff that he probably doesn't really know about, but he's gonna rant anyway because his brain is riddled with autism, probably. So, woohoo. Episode 1 about the Sixers, and now we're gonna go completely somewhere else. Um, Lately, I've realized that the audience for media nowadays is, let's just say, they don't understand how stories work anymore. Media literacy is low and all that fun stuff. So, um, when these long running series end, the problem is that a lot of people just go, wait a minute, that sucked. When they're just kind of missing the main point. Um, and that has to be annoying as a creator. That has to be annoying as an artist or author. And I don't understand how people reach the conclusions they reach. No, look, you can always not like something or be unhappy with something and not like it. That's your God given right, I guess. But I feel like a lot of the more vocal people don't like things simply because they didn't meet their already pre-made up opinions on it, you know? That sounds obvious, but let me explain. The problem now, specifically in this new internet age, is that a lot of people enjoy the theory crafting. They enjoy the journey more so than the actual destination. And because of that, the moment their headcanons and theory crafting is not met, they go feral. They legitimately like really mad. And that sucks. For example, the Amazing Digital Circus recently ended, and I thought it was okay. I thought it was a pretty good ending. Uh, but a lot of people fucking hated it, or at least they're more vocal people. We disliked it, and once again, that's their God-given right. You don't have to like everything, but I find the reason they're disliking it and are shitting on Gooseworks, the creator of the show, is fascinatingly kind of stupid to me. They hate the show because it didn't go over every character. It didn't answer all of our questions. Why is she leaving out these these small tidbits in world building? When the answer to that is that's not the story she wanted to tell. And people can't seem to grasp that a little bit, you know. They feel like they don't understand how people work, you know? And I think a lot of it once again goes back to theory crafting. The fact that the show didn't end up being about this big mystery about, oh, is it the real world? And look at all these breadcrumbs. And it's more so it ended up being that you jump to conclusions that didn't match, you know? And that has to be like frustrating. I get it. But at a certain point, bruh, you kind of just, you missed the point, you know? The show wasn't about every character's background. Sometimes characters can just exist to be a part of the story rather than the story themselves. And that was how most of the side characters ended up being. The story is about Pomni, Jax, and to a little extent, Kane, and their journey and how that all ended. Pomni kind of accepted it. She's accepted it and began to thrive in this new environment. Jax was corrupted by by all of its mistakes and decisions he made, whereas Kane kind of got redemption and forgiveness, and that was the arc those characters came in. Zubul, Gangle, and Kinger, or Agatha, they had their arcs, but they were never going to be the main focus. And then there's a human element of it that she just simply got tired of making a series. And the way their fans have acted, I don't blame her. And so you have a lot of these shows that recently ended, such as The Boys, for example. Um, Preface this with, I only seen season one. I'm not a big fan of shows where the main draw is that, oh, everybody could die. Rah. Just, once again, not good for my mental health. But I watched the show kind of uh, from afar, seeing reactions, seeing the big scenes, and seeing why. Why. And my outsider's take is that people kind of just didn't get what this story was going for. Specifically, the idiots who seem to have begun to worship Homelander instead of like a super cool guy and oh man, how cool he is and strong. When that wasn't the point. The point was that he was a big loser. And without said powers, he would be a big fucking loser. And so once his powers finally got stripped, he was a big fucking loser. And people just can't fucking grasp that. It's fascinating. I don't want to get into the alt right and blah 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 and the incels and all that bullshit, but it just feels like people don't know how to truly connect with these stories. Now, something I do know about is manga. Um, like gun to your head, of the major shonen Jump series, which one has an ending that everyone went, yeah, that was a good ending? I don't think fucking any of them that I can remember that I've gotten through. Um, Personally, I enjoyed most of the endings. I enjoyed Bleach's ending. A lot of people hated it, and I read it after the fact, but it was fine. Uh, I don't like how Naruto got to his ending, but that was the ending. I like My Hero Academia's ending. And once again, the journey there wasn't all smooth and everything set up. But the best example is Chainsaw Man. People hate that ending. And yes, the ending was a bit rushed and a bit out of nowhere, but that kind of fits the series, doesn't it? That fits Fujimoto's writing style. But people hated it. They couldn't stand it. They're like, this is the worst ending I've ever seen. Themes and such, ha ha ha. And I don't truly get it. And once again, I understand, yeah, the journey there was choppy and needed to be probably explained more, but it was kind of a fitting ending. It was a fitting ending, and it fit this story and it fit what they were going for. The fact that Denji would never be satisfied, and that's the problem. His constant wanting, and being Chainsaw Man allowed him to want. So taking that away, he just kind of had to accept life as it is and enjoy the small things without the fantastical, you know? Um, and perhaps that wasn't what Fujimoto was going for. And once again, the human element came into it. He obviously was constrained by the bi-weekly or weekly output, and it probably got to him. People, you need to realize that behind these things, for the most part, are people or humans or are people who have flaws and sometimes you just can't go through with it. They get writer's block. They become tired of their own story. That's human, and you just kind of have to accept that a little bit. And I think people have forgotten. And so when a story doesn't meet your head canons or your theory crafting, you just kind of need to accept it, and move on. But at the end of the day, it's not that deep, you know? Now I'm sure what you're gonna hear is like, oh, you're just glazing them, oh, you're glazing them, and blah blah blah. Look, man, just because I don't agree with this is the worst thing ever made doesn't mean I'm glazing. Everything I mentioned here does have flaws. Digital Circus should have had like an episode or two to perhaps flesh out a little bit more. Okay, the boys probably did have some writing issues that, as a person outside of it, probably don't notice. Perhaps they didn't complete all the things they wanted. Um, Chainsaw Man's ending once again was rushed and kind of out of nowhere. And yes, not everything was tied up neatly, but I do think people kind of just missed the point a little bit, and we need to just realize that these people are human. These people are, not just robots. They're allowed to make mistakes. They're allowed to think things through. Now, yes, it doesn't mean you can't criticize these things. It doesn't mean everything you just say, yeah, whatever. But just think a little bit more. Sometimes your headcanon isn't what it is, and that's okay. But of course, no one would do that. Everybody's going to just be mad and angry all the time, and because that was gets seen, that's what gets seen on the internet, and it's kind of sad, but it is what it is. And yeah, so that's episode 2 of me ranting about stuff. Once again, this is mostly just for me to get out of my brain and into the world. Um, I'm not gonna lie, this feels pretty good. Perhaps my mental health will not be as bad. I doubt it. But yeah, episode 2, and bye bye.